Hello again from Fired Up. First, please hit the like button, share this page with your friends, and leave a comment. This really helps our rating on the internet. So, other than that, I'm your host for the show, Bob Irwin. The show you're about to watch is a best of Fired Up over the last 10 or 12 years. Well, we're using the last 2 years or so and picking out really meaningful shows or funny shows, incidents that, because I can't be here next week due to other commitments, unfortunately, so I'll be back in 2 weeks. But the show you're going to watch should have some really interesting stuff in it. We're hand-picking over the last couple of years interesting and funny shows. I hope you will enjoy it, and I'll see you again in 2 weeks. My guest today is California and Nevada attorney Donald Green. Welcome back again, Don.
Thank you, Bob.
Nice tie.
No, thank you.
We are, if you'd give us a little bit of your background for any new listeners,
Sure.
We'll be right there.
Sure. My name is Don Green, and I'm a lawyer in California and Nevada, principally based in Nevada.
All right. Glad to have you on the show again.
Thank you.
This first story comes from Raleigh, actually North Raleigh, North Carolina, from the News and Observer, a newspaper there. This incident took place on the 24th of this month. We are broadcasting on the 27th, so there's a lot of stuff here. But this is so we don't have a lot of the information that's going to eventually come out in this case, but it presents some interesting ideas. So I just had to have this case up when I had Don on the show. A Wake County grand jury on Monday returned an indictment against a 41-year-old convenience store employee in the fatal shooting of a robbery suspect. Oh, there we go. My monitors come up. Officers said the employee and the robber exchanged gunfire during the robbery. The robber was struck and had a gunshot wound to his leg. There were no other injuries reported. Now, this was late in the afternoon. There was no time given, but anyway, at 10:30 p.m. on July 14th, same day, police discovered a body in the 4200 block of Waterbury Road. It turned out this was the guy who robbed the convenience store. 2 days later, on July 16th, investigators learned that it was the suspect in the robbery that happened 2 nights ago, and he was found in the mini mart in the 5500 block of Old Wake Forest Road. The convenience store is less than 3 miles from where the body was located. Months have passed since this July 14 shooting. Wake County District Attorney, her name is Lauren Freeman, did not detail what prompted her office to present the case to the grand jury at this time. That's coming up. The clerk is now charged with voluntary manslaughter for the fatal shooting of the 21-year-old robber. The clerk was taken into custody at the convenience store on Old Wake Forest Road, where the midsummer shooting took place. Detectives continued their investigation and worked in consultation with the district attorney's office. The district attorney presented the investigative findings to a grand jury on Monday morning, resulting in the charges being filed. There's a little bit of supposition here because this is so new and there's so little details listed. But apparently, what happened is the robber and the clerk got into a gunfight. The police reports say the robber was armed, and we know the clerk was hit. And he fired back. So the clerk told the cops the bad guy got away, although he did state possibly the guy was wounded. It appears that instead of calling medical help for the wounded robber, the clerk dumped the body and lied to investigators about it for some reason. Clearly, from the face of it, this is arguably a self-defense shooting, so why would you mislead the police investigators about what happened?
I am just, one, we need to find out from Don how the grand jury charges him with a manslaughter case. And hopefully, if I can follow up on the story, if there's more stuff printed after the thing goes to trial, but we may be looking at a year down the line before it happens, so there's maybe a while. But why in the world, if you're in a self-defense gunfight, would you lie, move the body, dump it, and then lie to the police and say the guy ran away? It makes no sense to me. But anyway, here we go.
If, as you say, the clerk at the convenience store did shoot the victim, now deceased, and move the body, that's an independent crime. That would not be involuntary manslaughter. We're missing a lot in this case.
Yeah.
What we don't know is why the district attorney there in North Carolina took the case to the grand jury. Generally, a district attorney has the discretion to have the case proceed through the Justice Court in Nevada and the lower superior courts in California for what's known as a preliminary hearing, where the judge does not find you guilty, but the judge only determines if there's enough evidence to send the case to a higher court for a jury trial. And you plead not guilty and get your trial. On the other hand, in Nevada and in California, the grand jury is available to the district attorney to present a case. In Nevada and California, the grand jury meets in secret. You may know about that through you're being served with the court paper, or your attorney is served with the court paper stating that we're going to take you to the grand jury. This is the general case, except in Nevada, those particularly egregious crimes, murder, arson, robbery, sexual assault, kidnapping, racketeering, large drug conspiracies, because of the nature of those cases and the probability that if the defendants know beforehand that they're going to be indicted, those defendants will probably flee the jurisdiction or flee the country. So that's the reason why the district attorney might try to get a different level of a grand jury. What happens at a grand jury? At a grand jury, the witness testifies on direct examination by the district attorney. In Nevada and California, in Nevada in particular, there is no right for the attorney to ask questions of witnesses before a grand jury. In federal grand jury, it's impossible. It's not even available. So you're left with a one-sided proceeding which has been upheld by the Nevada Supreme Court and which has been part of the Nevada Revised Statutes for over 100 years. Nevada becoming a state on October 31st, 1864. So for well over 100 years, we've had a grand jury in some form. The grand jury must hear evidence of the best nature and of the best kind. So you cannot use otherwise inadmissible evidence at a grand jury proceeding, such as certain types of hearsay. There are other types of evidentiary tools which the district attorney must avoid. Character assassinations, irrelevant, highly inflammatory or irrelevant material. But there are some grand jury proceedings which can be challenged. You challenge them in district court in Nevada by a writ of habeas corpus, which now, believe it or not, the clerk of the 8th Judicial District Court, in his infinite wisdom, has said, we're now going to file all writs of habeas corpus as independent civil proceedings. So you get a case number in civil, you get an assignment to the judge, and it's totally confusing because most of the habeas petitions usually go to the judge to whom the case is assigned. It's going to create some confusion. It is creating some confusion. I don't know the rationale, other than in federal court, when you file for like post-conviction relief, although it's an independent civil case, with its own civil docket case number, it is assigned to the judge who actually heard your case, unless that judge is under a disability or is no longer a judge. It gets assigned to whoever sentenced you 20 years ago, if that judge is still an active judge. So bottom line, the grand jury hears this evidence. The grand jury is presented with an indictment or proposed indictment by the district attorney. The district attorney says the members of the grand jury shall vote. The DA goes out in the hallway. The clerk comes out and says, Mr. District Attorney, we have a return on the indictment. And the foreman of the grand jury will say, Mr. District Attorney, we have issued a true bill, B-I-L-L, which charges the defendants with involuntary manslaughter, discharge of a firearm, disposing of a body, disposing of a corpse, committing a crime which was otherwise legal, but in an illegal manner. And that would be to shoot the guy and dump the body 3 miles down the road. Because at the time that you shot him, there may have been justification, but your subsequent taking the body 3 miles down the road and dumping him, if that's what the case was, and if it results in death, it is an act which is not murder, but it's an act which you did and it caused the death. So that would be the grand jury. There may be some political factors we don't know about. Your dog and my dog literally can be indicted by the Clark County Grand Jury for some form. But this is a good story for us to follow up for your readers, because they need to, your listeners, excuse me. Your readers, I mean your viewers, because I've been talking all day about some people reading some articles. Your viewers and your listeners need to be really keen on the fact that you might not get a preliminary hearing in your otherwise defensive shooting. Your case might go, in the discretion of the DA, directly to the grand jury. You're going to be indicted. You're going to spend a lot of money unless you've got carry concealed insurance, and you're going to be going straight to trial, and you pass go and don't collect your $200. So your listeners and viewers need to be aware of that.
My latest book, Self-Defense with Firearms, Use of Force in Nevada, is now available on Amazon Kindle for $4.95. You can download it now. It contains examples of dozens of shootings and pointing a firearm cases that I personally experienced in my 24 years in law enforcement, or where I testified in court or deposition as a firearm and use of force expert. The book is about the use of firearms in defense of yourself and others in my home state of Nevada. I have appeared as an expert witness in Nevada courts dozens of times, and that experience has shown me the necessity of putting pen to paper once again. Nevada state law as printed can be misleading to those of you who read it, as it is written in legal jargon, what I usually call lawyer speak. These statutes are also bent or even broken by the courts in their everyday decisions that we generally call case law. Those are rulings that say this or that statute does not apply in a particular incident and similar cases. That causes the law you are depending on when you make a decision to use your firearm only partially or not apply at all to your actions. Relevant Nevada statute numbers are included here and there, so readers may look up current wording on the Nevada State website. Teaching firearms in 28 law enforcement academies, including cadets from 26 different Nevada agencies, personally instructing over 30,000 concealed firearm permit students and 20,000 private security officers, I've discovered a lot of commonalities in deadly force incidents. Less than 100 pages, this book offers advice that can save lives and costs of expensive defense lawyers to reduce your losses in the inevitable civil lawsuits that follow these incidents. Get a copy, learn how to avoid, prepare for, and react to life-threatening situations.
the question I want to ask is, we're now in the position where California has passed this quantity buying limit and requiring a background check when you buy ammunition from a dealer in California. And with rather strict, you do a background check and fill out a form like a 4473 and so forth, under penalty of going to jail. When we have gun shows here, like we've got one coming up in a couple of weeks, we're going to be at the convention center. I expect that ATF and other law enforcement agencies, as they do with fireworks sales, are going to be watching people load ammunition in their car when they've got California plates. And they will then drive to California, and when they get stopped at the fruit inspection, they can be asked, of course, and they usually do you have any fruits or vegetables or drugs or whatever in the car? Sometimes they'll come up with a laundry list, and they will already have your plate tagged, of course, knowing that you just bought ammunition in Las Vegas that day or the day before. And you say, no, I don't have any of that in my car. Is that probable cause to search the car when he has reason to believe that you're lying? Mr. Green.
Well, the issue is lying. Do you have ammo in your car? Yes. Stop. What is the purpose of that? If he already knows, he's only getting you to try to lie to lure you into that lie. Here's the point. About 15 years ago, the U.S. Supreme Court issued a decision. It's called City of Indianapolis. I cannot remember it was City of Indianapolis versus Brown or something like that. And here's what happened. The City of Indianapolis had created a program that when they had these checkpoints in the city, they were going to, like during the day, they were going to search every 10th car or every 15th car. And at night, every 10th car, something like that. And it went to the U.S. Supreme Court, and the U.S. Supreme Court struck that down. Now, fast forward to 2010, just outside of Kingman, Arizona, going northbound on 95, just before you get to the lake. Every car has to pull off to the side of the road, similar to California. And it's a checkpoint, but the checkpoint is run by Wackenhut Services on contract with the Mojave County Sheriff. During the day, they search every 15th car, regardless. And at night, they search every 10th car. The point is that in that particular case, is it a violation? I would say yes. Now, the ammunition is legal in the state of Nevada. Right. The ammunition may be perfectly legal in the state of California. And note that the ammunition was not purchased in the state of California. So once you cross the line, does California have the ability to regulate the ammunition, which is perfectly legal, in another state? I said it's a violation of the Interstate Commerce Clause, for which Commerce has plenary jurisdiction over interstate commerce. Now, can California regulate bringing in assault rifles and 50 caliber BMG? The answer is yes, because there's a specific statute. But if I buy the information, if I buy the ammunition in Nevada and it's legal, and I'm going into California, these aren't oranges. The oranges, maybe have disease and insects or whatever. Anyway, so I think that the interdiction stops are going to be there's going to be a lot of litigation, and the government's going to say, well, it's for government, it's for safety. California's going to say for safety, and Don Green's going to say it's a violation of the Commerce Clause in the Constitution.
This next story comes from NBC TV 10 Action News, was reported May 27 in 2020 in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. A man shot an alleged burglar after he said he caught him breaking into a trailer and stealing his DJ equipment. He works parties as a disc jockey, and all his sound effects and so forth are there. This shooting occurred around 4 in the morning in the 2700 block of East Somerset Street. A 37-year-old man saw two people break into a trailer which contained his disc jockey equipment. The victim fired at least 3 shots, hitting one of the thieves in the back. According to NBC 10, the alleged burglar ran off but died a few blocks away. Authorities found the missing equipment in a vehicle belonging to the thief's girlfriend, who is now cooperating with police. Of course, it's the usual story. I didn't know what he was doing, and it's not my fault, and so forth. As of this report, the shooter had not been charged and is cooperating with police. The shooter obviously never watches Fired Up with Bob Irwin. He will be charged. This is a pure property crime in progress. Police response is fairly fast in that city, so the only thing he should have done was to call 911. You cannot use deadly force to recover stolen property. There are a few exceptions to that rule, but the state of Pennsylvania is not one of them. You cannot use deadly force to prevent property crimes. We reiterate that every show, and as I said, this guy obviously doesn't listen to the show, or he would have known better. And it'll save him a lot of trouble, because he is very likely to be charged with a crime here. WTSP TV10 reported July 10, 2020 in West Chapel, Florida, 3 armed intruders targeted a home when they broke into a Florida gun enthusiast's house early Friday morning. The homeowner was awake playing video games when he heard glass shatter just before 1 in the morning. Investigators said he grabbed a gun and walked to the back of the house. He found a masked intruder in the hallway pointing a gun at him. The homeowner fired his gun, striking the intruder. A second intruder, also pointing a gun toward the homeowner, was behind the first one. The homeowner shot him, and he fell to the floor as well. The homeowner briefly saw a third intruder and fired, but his gun jammed. He grabbed another gun, but the intruder was out the door by then. The homeowner got a phone call from a neighbor who told him he was holding that surviving intruder at gunpoint. Deputies were called to the scene. 2 invaders were pronounced dead. The names of those 2 intruders who died will not be released until after family notifications. The third of the would-be robbers, age 19, was taken to the hospital for treatment. That 19-year-old was later arrested and charged with 2 counts of second-degree homicide and 1 count of home invasion robbery. This is the explanation. He is accountable for the deaths because it was during the commission of a felony that was involved in those 2, and the 2 people died. This is from Pasco County Sheriff Chris Nocco, N-O-C-C-O, I'm sure I'm pronouncing that right. Sheriff Nocco added that the 2 deceased intruders had extremely violent criminal history. The surviving 19-year-old has a previous arrest for battery. The homeowner believes he was targeted because he is a gun enthusiast and posts pictures of his firearms on his social media website, Channel 10 also reported. Comments here. First, the felony murder rule provides accomplices' deaths are chargeable as murder, so this 19-year-old can be charged with 2 counts of murder. Whether it would be first or second degree depends on a few odd things, but the victim here apparently puts pictures of his gun collection on social media. Does that not increase the risk of burglaries or home invasions? This incident indicates that it currently could draw in criminals. Obviously it could, because it did. Another problem here, he has a home defense gun that jams. We always want to upgrade our equipment to what I call the bullet of the week, because of some ammo makers' new advertising that they have now developed the best bullet in the world. I mean, I've been around since Supervels and we're going back 40 years. We're the bullet of the week, and we've had a new one every week since. First, make sure it works in your primary defense gun. Always test fire and practice with your self-defense firearm loaded with the ammo you plan to use in an emergency. KBTV Fox 4 Beaumont reports December 28, 2020 in Port Arthur, Texas. Police say the owner of a home in the 2500 block of 18th Street shot and killed a home invasion suspect who forced his way into the home with two other suspects. Police say a 29-year-old homeowner armed himself with a rifle and fired several shots at the 27-year-old suspect to protect his young children who were in the home. The suspect died inside the home. Two other suspects left. No one else was injured. Justice of the Peace Tom Gillum III has ordered an autopsy. According to the Port Arthur PD, officers responded at about 8:30 p.m. Sunday to a home invasion robbery with a shots fired report. The preliminary investigation revealed three armed assailants forcibly entered a home in the 2500 block of 18th Street as the female resident was arriving home. The commotion alerted a male resident who armed himself with a rifle and confronted the would-be robbers to protect his young children who were in the home. That's redundant. That's a police report versus the news reports. One of the robbers was shot and killed during the encounter. The incident is currently under investigation by the Port Arthur Police Department's Major Crime Team. If you have any other information about this or any other crime, call Port Arthur Police at 409-983-8600 or Crime Stoppers of Southeast Texas. Their number is 409-833-TIPS. That's 409-833-8477. You won't be asked for your name, and you may be eligible for a cash reward. Comments: when shots are fired, as in this case, most would-be home burglars leave very quickly, as these did. The resident did not pursue, which is correct, as the threat was over. There is nothing to gain in chasing down fleeing perps. If the bad guys run, it's hard to explain how you were still in danger when you were shooting. In a few cases I have reviewed, an autopsy discovered unknown facts. In one incident, the guy was trying to break into what he thought was his own house, and he thought his wife had changed the locks. Sometimes those under the influence of alcohol or drugs are on the wrong block or thought it was his friend's home, etc. Use loud verbal warnings, stay behind hard cover, and on the phone with 911. They will hear everything, including your warnings. We are at the end. You can check out my recent shows at firedupwithboberwin.com. I'll be back next Thursday on my website, firedupwithboberwin.com, the American Guns and Glory Network, and numerous other websites, television, and radio stations. While watching any media, just click on subscribe and new shows will be sent to your phone or computer automatically. My logo merchandise, hats, shirts, and books, mostly books, are available at Battlefield Vegas, just behind Circus Circus on the Las Vegas Strip. If you are ever in Las Vegas, Battlefield Vegas is a must-see attraction. You can shoot a minigun or any of hundreds of firearms or even crush a car with an Abrams tank at their associated outdoor facility. They do provide transportation to get there. Contact info@battlefieldvegas.com. Thank you for watching Fired Up. I'll be back next week with another show. Be sure to watch my little disclaimer at the end now so you understand all the things we can and cannot do on this show. Have a great new year. It's got to be better than this last year. I think all viewers will agree. Happy New Year.